When buying your first home in Toronto, it's important to note that the Toronto real estate market changes every single month. Sometimes prices go up, sometimes prices go down, sometimes some months they stay flat. So it's important to keep track of what's going on in the Toronto real estate market on a monthly basis. So what we do in this monthly video series is we break down Toronto condos and we look at different layouts, different floor plans, and we see what it costs to either rent or buy these two different layouts to give you a best well-informed decision when it comes to either renting or buying your next home. If you're new here, my name is Gabriela Batista from Homes into Reality. I have videos every single week here about being a first-time buyer in Toronto. I'm a local real estate agent, so I'm very passionate about bringing this education to first-time buyers and hoping that that first big transaction of yours is a successful one and you can do so with confidence. And if you want more info about what I do, or if you just want help on becoming a first-time buyer in Toronto, feel free to reach out. My email and my phone number are in the description over there. My Instagram's there as well, where I post weekly content as well. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help anyone looking to buy their first home in Toronto. Enough of me. Let's get into the stats and the trends. So how I'm going to break this down, we're going to look at the median price points of different floor plans to either rent or buy. We're going to look at studios, 1 bedrooms, 1+ dens, and 2-bedroom condos in Toronto. Let's start with our studio numbers. And a studio is your typical bachelor apartment where everything's one big room. There's no one separate bedroom. Your kitchen, your bedroom, your dining room is all combined living. Usually you're at a floor plan less than 500 square feet, usually closer to 400 or 300 square feet. With 191 studio rentals in the month of May, we're looking at a median price point of $2,100 a month. And that's been a relatively flat number in the sense that since July of last year, we've seen prices being at that median price point at around $2,100, plus or minus a little bit, but they've been relatively stable and relatively flat. Even as more inventory and more demand comes on the market as we get closer to summer, it's been at $2,100, which is a relatively encouraging sign. Now, the exact opposite of stability is exactly what's happening in the studio condo prices. With that being said, I'll show the graph over here. Only 41 condos transacted last month in May, and that tends to be pretty normal when it comes to studio transactions. There's much less volume, which kind of encourages volatility. One sale might affect the overall trend line, but you'll see from March to April, prices really jumped up, and then from April to May, they spiked down. With that being said, a little bit of a correction maybe for that big spike up. Overall, it's tough to say if prices are going up or down with studios, just because we want to look at a longer term average. If we look at 2 months, they've gone up, but overall, we do want to see more of a body of work, more months of inventory or more months of sales to really know what's going on with studio prices. Now we're going to move on to a more common layout. A much more common layout are your 1 bedrooms. And your 1 bedrooms, a little bit self-explanatory. You have your main bedroom that's separate from your living space. You probably have a living room, you have your kitchen, all, a regular living space, plus a separated bedroom from the common area. With our 1 bedrooms, it's a much different story in the sense of how many units rent out. We have a total of 1,050 units that rented out in the month of May, compared to studios, which is under 200. We have much more of a body of work. So we can have a little bit more confidence. The number that we get for our median is going to be a little bit more accurate. We have more solid trends that we can trust in. And when we look at the 1 bedrooms, your median price point is $2,400 a month to rent. With that being said, similar to the studios, it's been relatively at that number for the past several months, even going into last year. At the peak of the market last year during the summertime, we saw median rents at about $2,400 a month. And now we're seeing the same thing, median price point to rent at $2,400 a month. It's showing stability in the market to a certain extent. Demand's keeping up with supply, and most units are finding, tenants, and most tenants are finding homes. It's very interesting to see what happens as we get into the summer months when students and there's more deadlines, more people are moving. So it's interesting how this will be, if it will be stable in the future. But currently the market's been relatively stable at $2,400 a month as a median price point to rent. So looking at 1 bedroom condo numbers, it's a very similar story where we actually have a decent amount of volume. We have 340 different 1 bedroom condos transacting in the month of May, which gives us a much more confidence when it comes to the trend line and the trends that we're seeing. The median price point in the month of May was $603,000, which is, again, if we throw up the trend line over here, it's showing a positive correlation month over month. We've been seeing since the month of January, prices have gone up slowly but surely every single month. Will it stay that way? We don't know, but it's definitely showing that as the market gets busy, I would say May felt busier than April. Prices are slowly going up. Now, will that stay during the summer months when things tend to calm down, especially in the condo market? I'm not too sure. But we can definitely say from January to now, we've definitely seen a slow rise when it comes to Toronto 1 bedroom prices. Now moving on to our 1 plus dens. And our 1 plus dens is my personal favorite layout in the sense of best bang for your buck. Your den is essentially, it's not a bedroom, but it's an opening, maybe a larger room that has some separation to it. It's some extra space that is added to the condo where you can put an office. You can put maybe a smaller kid's bedroom. You can put, say, a dining room. You can have something in there where you have an extra little bit of space, which I personally like, especially with the smaller living of a condo life. You want to have as much space as possible. So that's always important. And I think the value-wise is also really good as well. Now, in the month of May, we had 1,010 different 1-bedroom plus den rentals. And that's very similar to our 1-bedroom numbers, very high amount of volume, which gives us a lot of confidence in the number that we're getting here. We have a median price point to rent of $2,600 a month to rent. And it's showing a very similar sign to our 1-bedrooms and our studios because that number has been very consistent. This one's fluctuated a little bit more. It had trouble getting to $2,600. It was a little bit lower for a while, but it's been around $2,600 since late 2022. And that's kind of showing overall the rental market's been relatively stable since that really peak of September from the rental market. And overall, like you have a lot of volume going on for 1 plus dens. So the market's been pretty consistent, and we'll see how that goes as we get into the summer months where it tends to get very busy. Now, when it comes to transacting for your 1 plus dens, we've had a good amount of volume. More than the 1-bedrooms, we had 423 different properties that have transacted in the month of May. We're looking at a median price point of $662,000, which is also up. Not up as much, up about $2,000, $3,000 from last month. We put up the graph. It hasn't been as consistently up as I'd say the 1-bedrooms have been, but they've been trending upwards. They haven't, they've been a little bit more flat, but they've been trending upwards overall. And that's where I think the value really comes from 1 plus dens, because if you look at the median price point of 1-bedrooms at $603 versus a median price point of a 1 plus den at $662, you're spending approximately an extra $60,000 to get a little bit more space. So that's where I think the value really comes from a 1 plus den overall. Now we have our last layout, the 2-bedrooms, which is again a little bit more self-explanatory. 2 proper full bedrooms, no dens. You're getting a decent amount of space, and will be the biggest layout and the most common layout that you see on the transactional market. Now, once again, starting with our rentals, we had 877 2-bedroom rentals in the month of May, which is a decent amount of number, not as high as the 1-bedrooms and the 1 plus dens, but a great amount of number where we have some confidence in those numbers. And the one thing that I'm looking on the 2-bedroom end is we've been up significantly over the past 2 months. We have a median price point to rent of $3,194, which is fairly high. If you compare, we were at a median price point around $3,000 a few months ago. It has taken a big jump up, and it stayed consistently for the past 2 months at that higher number. We technically have been higher when it comes to Toronto 2-bedroom rents. August leading up to September, we had some really high, over $3,200 a month in median rents. That was more because leading up to September, where students start their semester, rents tend to get really high then, and we saw some peaks there. We really never recovered since that hike, but we're definitely seeing some increasing rents where it may be possible during the summer months we get even higher of a median price point than $3,200 a month. Now, moving on to the transactional side, we're looking at, for 2-bedrooms, a median price point of $790,000. And that's a big jump when it comes to prices. Like, it's not a small jump in any sense. If we put up the graph over here, it definitely is a big of a jump up when it comes to these numbers. And the interesting thing too is we had a lot of data to back it up as well. We had the most transactional data for 2-bedrooms at 501 different 2-bedroom condos that transacted in Toronto for the month of May. So it's not like it's a small volume problem. We had a lot of different condos that sold in that month. With that being said, it's something to track. Why that is, I think we'll get into a little bit later on, but it's definitely showing that 2-bedrooms are getting more expensive as time goes on. So that's the actual stats, the hard numbers. I'm going to give some of my personal experience in the market. As I mentioned before, I'm a Toronto real estate agent. I work for a lot of first-time buyers. And because I do that, I'm in the market a ton. I see a lot of condos. I see what offers go on condos. And I get a good sense of what's going on in the market decently. And I'm a little bit surprised by some of these numbers on how much the purchasing numbers have jumped up so much, because it's felt relatively calm and steady in the condo market. I'm wondering if the buzz of freeholds have really picked up some maybe demand, some offer dates, and that's pushed up prices a little bit. But overall, it doesn't feel like the condo market's any more competitive. The reason, I look at that and I kind of feel like, this maybe jump in condo prices isn't something that is sustainable, because as we get into the summer months, it's going to get less competitive. There might be more active supply sitting on the market, and less people are going to be buying because most people are going to be on summer vacation and they won't be doing their typical real estate stuff. So the prices I'm a little bit skeptical on. It's very clear that they've been going up every single month. I'm just not sure how long they can maintain those price jumps, or if they have to steady out, or if they can't or maybe they go down. It depends more on supply. But I'm very curious to see how the summer months treat the Toronto condo market. And looking at rent numbers, it's very encouraging to see how studios, 1 bedrooms, 1+10s have been relatively stable and flat ever since that big spike up in September, where prices were at their highest for rents. 2 bedrooms, obviously, they've been going up the past 2 months, but I think that may be more because they took a bit of a dip after the student market, and now they're kind of catching up with that. They're still not at that high of the student market, but they're catching up, and overall, they're at a similar spot they were this time last year. With that being said, what's interesting about the rental market is I think there's going to be some sort of increase as we get back into that student frenzy of June, July, and August, where people need a place by August or by September 1st. We always forget students have to start their semester on time. So they get a little bit more desperate. They get a little bit more aggressive when it comes to bidding on properties. So I think there might be some sort of increase because there's always been a supply problem in Toronto. I don't know how much. I don't think it'll be the same as last year where we really saw prices jump up and catching up from COVID. But I think there will be some sort of increase going into those months. So we'll see what happens. It feels a little bit more competitive when I show properties, but not competitive enough where I see prices jumping up to a stupid amount. My final thought is when I look at these numbers, the one thing that I realize is how shocking it is from the outside looking in, where if right now is the busiest time of year in the sense of I've been the busiest right now. The most transactions have been going on in May versus April and March. Usually this busyness happens in March. So to see these numbers kind of jump up in May, for me is a little bit odd. And even for the outside person looking at these numbers, it must be very confusing. But the interesting thing is, you know what, the market has been a little bit delayed. I think a lot of that is because of the interest rates hikes and people were kind of held back in the early times of the market. So it's very curious to see what's going on in this market. It's not something that I expected, but because the spring market's delayed, I still expect to see some stability when it comes to the summer months. In the summer market, we call it, where things are a little bit more calm and cool, collected. It could be happening as we speak right now. So it's something that I'm consistently looking out for, and I'm updating my clients as I see these trends develop and as I see new news come out as well. I think we're getting a little long in this video, so I'll cut it off over here. Again, every single month I do this video on Toronto condos just to help first-time buyers break things down. Condos are the most common type of property that first-time buyers get into. It's a great entry-level price point, and it's more realistic than most freehold houses. So if I can be a little bit more focused once a month on the condos that I look at, I'm happy to help you. I want to get you guys into condos, and either if it's renting or buying, and keeping you informed about the Toronto real estate market. That's what I'm really passionate about doing. Feel free to reach out. All of my information is below. You can reach out to me, give me a call, give me a text, book a call with me, all that fun stuff. My name is Gabriela Batista from Homes into Reality. See you next week. Talk soon.